Welcome to the course on implementing a project. This course will give you a detailed account of the tools and techniques for implementing humanitarian and development projects.
Welcome back. Here is a recap of what I learned from the planning phase. It's a good reminder as I begin the implementation phase.
You now know how to design and plan a project. Now, let's learn how to implement a project successfully. Here's what you will learn in this course.
It's been a great journey so far, Esther. I have already designed and planned the project using the simplified project phase model and tools that helped me create the project plan, timeline, and the risk register. I have started implementing the project and have some additional questions.
I'm glad that you are comfortable with the tools. What questions do you have? And we will address them together.
There is so much going on in the Delta River project. How do I keep track of everything? We need to make some changes and adjustments. How do I manage all of these? I'm afraid I might miss something, and the project will get delayed. I don't want to get blamed for delays or any other problems.
There's no need to worry. As they say, change is one of the few things you can almost guarantee during project implementation. Humanitarian and development projects mean working in difficult circumstances, so changes are expected.
Yes, but if I could foresee these changes, it would be helpful.
Well, we can't predict the future. It is very rare for a humanitarian and development project to proceed exactly as planned. Change is unavoidable, and we need to learn how we are going to manage this. That's why we have the issues log and the risk register, remember? The issues log helps us track and manage issues, while the risk register helps to anticipate what might go wrong. We need to anticipate the risks, balance the triple constraint triangle, manage issues, and make sure stakeholders are in agreement with any changes.
Okay, so how can I better implement my project considering these factors?
Today, I will show you the steps and tools for implementing your project. We'll see how to manage issues, allocate roles and responsibilities, manage people, and use MEAL to track the project's progress.
What are issues? How do we manage them?
An issue is an unresolved decision, situation, or problem that will significantly impact the project and that the project team cannot immediately resolve. An issue is a real problem which requires project management action. Issue management consists of having a process for identifying and understanding these problems and managing them until they are resolved. Remember that issues and risks are similar but not the same.
Please remind me, how is an issue different from a risk?
Issues are in the present, whereas risks have not yet happened, so they are in the future.
Now that I think about it, some issues may be outside my control.
I agree. Resolving issues may be beyond the authority of the project manager and the project team. However, what's important is that even if you escalate an issue to the next level or delegate it to someone else to resolve, you still need to track it and know what is happening. After all, despite the escalation or delegation, the issue might not have been resolved. Throughout the implementation phase as the project manager, you need to ensure that proper tools and processes are in place for the project team members to identify, resolve, and track issues. Most importantly, you need to follow up to make sure that project staff are managing the issues. The issues won't solve themselves.
It's such a relief to know that I'm not solely responsible for resolving the issues.
Absolutely. You should collaborate with all the team members for issue management, especially those on the ground doing the work. While you are not directly responsible for taking action on every issue as the project manager, you should be well informed about the issues. The project manager is responsible to ensure that issues are being managed. Therefore, you should know to whom you need to escalate issues. And even after the issue has been escalated, you need to track it to make sure that it is being resolved. Staff sometimes wonder why they have to write down the issues. There are 3 main reasons. First, it is easier to remember everything if it is written down. Second, if issues are visible and shared, staff can see if an issue in another part of the project might impact their work. Finally, if it is not written down, it will be hard to learn from our mistakes.
Unexpected rain has delayed latrine construction. Is this a risk or an issue? The accounts manager has resigned. She is serving her notice period and she will not be available after a month. Is this a risk or an issue? The digging equipment has not been serviced according to schedule, increasing the likelihood of malfunction. Is this a risk or an issue? The accounts manager has just announced that he is getting married in 6 weeks' time. This will coincide with an important financial report to the donor. Is this a risk or an issue?
Mike Tyson, a famous boxer, said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." Project management has similar dynamics. Just like a boxer in the ring, the life of a project is risky, complex, and sometimes just plain messy. Similarly, in project management, Even with a comprehensive and detailed plan, there will be punches in the form of issues that will challenge the project during its implementation. Like any good boxer, the project manager should learn how to manage the issues, navigate the complexity, and adapt the plan. If issues are not resolved, they will have negative consequences such as inability to meet project timelines, cost, and schedule, leading to the triple constraint triangle being unbalanced. Poor or unacceptable project quality. Poor reputation amongst communities, donors, and others. Post-implementation disputes. To avoid these negative consequences, it is important to resolve project issues in a timely manner.
So how do I go about managing project issues?
Good question. Issue management consists of the following tasks. Identify project issues and contribute to the resolution of project issues. Establish an environment where the team members can talk about issues and ask for help. Escalate important issues as soon as possible. Remember, even though issue management is a collaborative effort, the project manager is ultimately accountable for issue management.
Clearly, I will need to make the entire Delta River project team aware of these steps.
That's right. In fact, having a clear, well-documented and understood issue management process is crucial to communicating and applying the process across the team.
When you say the issue management process, it's the same steps that we talked about, right?
Yes, but the issue management process is more detailed. Let me walk you through it. The issue management process consists of 4 stages.
That's a very detailed process.
It's a structured process but not complex. We need to find out what the issues are, understand them, decide what to do about them, and then track and monitor them. A lot of this can be done by having regular conversations about issue management. For example, creating a space in weekly team meeting agendas to talk about issue management gives everybody a space to talk about what is going wrong, what the problems are, and potential solutions. It may seem like this takes too much time, but not solving the issue means it will get worse and more urgent and even take longer to finally solve. Now let's look at an important tool, the issues log. It summarizes the issues, describes their current status, identifies who is responsible to address the issue, and documents the resolution. The issues log can take on a variety of technical forms, from paper to a fully integrated database. A sample of an issues log is shown here. You can download the template from the Resources tab. Adesh, do you remember we had discussed how rain can cause a delay in the Delta River project?
Yes, I do.
Can you populate the issues log for this issue?
Sure, it would look something like this.
Good job! Remember, the entire team should be aware of the issues management process and understand who can take what decision and when an issue needs to be escalated. It is also critical that the project team communicates the issues to the project manager in a timely manner.
Issue management seems to be a complicated process.
It's not really complicated. Just follow the given tips and you'll do fine. A project manager rarely works alone. Even the smallest of humanitarian and development projects depend on multiple stakeholders. Large projects could include community groups, government ministries, suppliers, local non-governmental organizations, universities, faith-based organizations, and others. When managing several stakeholders, one of the challenges is to ensure that there is clarity regarding the roles, responsibilities, authority, and communications of different stakeholders. Remember to ask those of your colleagues who are closest to the issue. They will probably have the best understanding of the situation and they may have good ideas about how to find a solution.
That's a tough task. What is the best way to separate responsibility and accountability?
Well, there is a tool that can help you. It is the RACI chart. The RACI chart is a matrix that lists all the stakeholders on a project and their levels of involvement in each task. You can download the RACI chart template from the Resources tab. RACI stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consulted, and Informed. These are the 4 headings in the matrix, and these help us to think about the role each stakeholder will have with respect to different project tasks.
Responsible stakeholders. Those who do not work to achieve the task of change.
I have completed the RACI chart for the Delta River project. Select each task to reveal the corresponding roles.
The RACI chart should be developed collaboratively, gaining consensus and buy-in from team members and stakeholders on the tasks and roles for each task. Once developed, the RACI chart can be shared among the project team and with project stakeholders to ensure an understanding and expectations of project rules and responsibilities. You can mention the job title in the RACI chart. However, for clarity, mentioning the name of the person is recommended. Always ensure that there is only one name under the responsible and accountable columns. Having different people accountable or responsible for a task is not efficient. However, there can be multiple names under the consulted and informed columns.
The RACI chart is really helpful.
Yes, it certainly is. Here are some key things that you should know about the RACI chart.
Well, Esther, I now feel a lot more confident about my project's implementation. I have the tools to effectively manage issues, to know who is responsible for their resolution, and to define stakeholder roles and responsibilities. I also understand the importance of people management.
That's great! Now let's talk about how to keep track of your project's progress.
I hope there are more tools I can use. They are so helpful.
Yes, there is. But let's discuss some concepts before we dive into the tool. Do you remember? You once told me that having our meal on time is important.
Oh, yes. You are referring to monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning.
That's right. Remember, we had discussed that we need to use meal in all the phases throughout the project. Let's have a detailed look at it. Monitoring and evaluation are cornerstones for any project and require proper implementation for the success of any project. The project management journey is like driving a car. When you drive a car, you spend most of your time looking at the road. However, you have a few key indicators on the dashboard to help you. You have a fuel gauge, a speedometer, engine temperature, oil change indicator, and so on. These indicators give you critical information about your car, that you have enough fuel, whether the engine needs to cool down, at what speed you are driving, and so on. You don't look at these indicators all the time. You need to look at the road, but you need to glance at them frequently and they will give you critical information when you need it. Also, the information these indicators give you should be accurate so that your journey can be completed smoothly. Meal is just like using these indicators in the project management journey. While you need to look at the overall project tasks, meal activities will give you critical information about the project's progress. Just like the indicators on your car's dashboard, you need to check the meal activities frequently. Monitoring means looking at the indicators, and evaluation is like taking the car to the garage for a service. A substantial amount of monitoring, accountability, and learning will be completed during implementation. The frequency of evaluation will depend on the length of the project, requirements from the donors, and complexity of the project. Meal activities during implementation are important for maintaining and managing the triple constraint triangle. If you have a meal team, you need to work closely with them. Otherwise, you should ensure that the meal tasks are allocated to the right people. You should also ensure that the stakeholders can provide feedback and there are intentional learning processes included in the project. For example, finding time to reflect on progress from the previous week and what we have learned from it. You should conduct monitoring throughout the entire life of the project. However, monitoring is especially important during the implementation phase. Here are some of the main reasons. For making informed decisions and adaptive management. For ensuring the project is on track according to the planned targets. For identifying risks and issues that have not been identified. You can use the indicators from the logical framework to measure the progress towards targets, ensuring that the targets are achieved according to the plan. If we realize that we have built one latrine less than planned, then our monitoring has shown us that we have an issue, and we can now decide how to manage the issue. For example, monitoring might reveal that only 5 latrines have been constructed out of the 6 you were supposed to have built over the period. We might ensure that we build an extra latrine in the next month to help us catch up. Evaluation will tell you if the outputs are achieving the outcomes and if the assumptions are holding true. If our evaluation reveals that latrine usage is not going up quickly enough, we realize that we have a significant project issue and we can start to manage it. For example, we might add in further public health education activities or investigate why latrine usage is not going up.
What actions should I take under each stage of the issue management process?
For tracking the project progress, you can use the Indicator Performance Tracking Table or IPTT.
IPTT? What's that?
The Indicator Performance Tracking Table, IPTT, includes all the indicators of the project mentioned in the logical framework, the frequency of measurement, the targets to be achieved, and baseline values. The Indicator Performance Tracking Table simply takes the work we already did in the logical framework and turns it into a simple tool to track our project performance.
What is a baseline?
Baseline is the value of an indicator before the implementation of an activity against which future progress can be assessed. This is an example of an Indicator Performance Tracking Table template. Try putting this into practice by creating the IPTT for the Delta River project.
Sure, Esther. Here it is.
Good job! As shown in this IPTT, the targets for each indicator are divided into periods of time. Also, you can identify the variances between the plan and the actual using this IPTT. You can use this information for considerations regarding the implementation plan and examine why these variances are occurring. This will help you document project performance against your targets and objectives and will make reporting, internally or externally, much easier.
How can I track the variance using the IPTT?
I'm glad you asked. Let's look at 2 examples to understand this. The plan was to construct 100 latrines by the end of second quarter, 50 in first quarter and 50 in second. However, only 35 latrines were constructed in first quarter and 58 in second quarter, as you have noted in the actual columns, which means 93 latrines were constructed against planned 100, which gives a variance of 7.
Yes. I was alerted after Q1 that the target was not being met. I had investigated the causes for the failure to meet the target. The rain had caused the delay in the Q1 of the project, which I had mentioned in the issues log. I added more resources and we have nearly caught up. We were supposed to build 100 latrines by the end of Q2, but we have built 93. I'm using this information to plan to build 7 extra latrines in Q3 to make sure we achieve the target.
Adesh, you will notice that the outcome level indicator required latrines to be built so that people can start using them, and you can demonstrate an increase in use of latrines. However, due to the delay in the output level activity, fewer latrines were built by the end of Q1, and as a result, not many people could use them. So, we can see that failing to deliver the required output will have an impact on the outcome as well. This example highlights how issues, meal, and schedule management are linked with each other.